We'd come out of the Totton Drama Festival with our performance of Dan Nolan, which we'd fully expected to do well, but we hadn't. And this was a turning point for us. We were either going to give up on it or really go to town. And we had, in the following weeks, another couple of festivals to participate in. We're lucky in our area. We had the Totton Drama Festival at this time, the Eastleigh Drama Festival, and the New Forest Drama Festival. So the Eastleigh Drama Festival was the following week. We obviously had worked really hard, and it's lovely because the cast deserved it. I mean, we all deserved it. We'd worked so hard, and the adjudication is lovely. It still has some little bits of problems, but I'm going to read you little bits of the adjudication. An unusual and deeply affecting contribution to the festival, a documentary drama chronicling these events. It's a skillfully written play. It achieves, for an episodic play, an astonishing depth and authenticity in the character of teenager Dan Nolan through contrasting scenes with his parents. Now, I have to say here that all the competition that we were up against never did plays like we did. They were always naturalistic plays, kind of Acornish, and there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. But ours were different, and I felt that was good, but we tended to feel in the marking it affected us negatively. She goes on. The tone is frequently light and humorous, particularly in the early scenes. It passes through gentle shades of affection and love and moves to tragic depths without strain. Considerable emotional commitment from a young cast. They were aged 16, I think, so, year 11 or 12. A courageous undertaking by Oakland's Youth Theatre, and this courage was not mistaken. The production gripped from its very first moment. Effortless continuity with no pause or faltering. Acting was strong throughout. I mean, they must have been delighted by this, as was I. Despite a tendency to pass quickly over some lines, we still had work to do on that. There was a sincerity in the playing. We really knew that was the case, and it was lovely to have it recognised. The playing of Pauline stayed particularly in the memory, a quiet performance of great dignity. The pre-disappearance Pauline was cheerful, capable, ebullient, contrasting with a Pauline almost silenced by grief. Really good hint there for GCSE people and the characters. The intuition into Pauline's state of mind was compelling. The real achievement, though, was the portrayal of Dan, which was at once intensely personal and yet known to every parent in the audience as theirs. A fine performance, well done Darren, which took to the heart of the play and the tragedy. The direction of the play was imaginative and assured. We demanded that our work was imaginative because when you look at a documentary play, it's all stodgy writing. So we the big long paragraphs. So our task was to make it imaginative, and that was super important to us. Narration, flashbacks, commentary, music, slides were successfully blended without impeding the flow of the story, and crisp cueing, really important, was maintained between these various modes. What I like to flip from one thing to another with no gap, so from Disney to Beckett, I love all those changing instantly. The only question remaining, often asked, was whether a director other than the writer himself, and therefore coming fresh to the story, could have brought more inspiration to a production which was already, in so many ways, exemplary. Quite a bizarre comment. If I've done that good a job, why make that remark? But hey, there we are. There it was asked, and we came, I think, joint third in that production, in that festival. The next month we went to the New Forest Drama Festival. Similarly positive review, but a really interesting change was suggested, and this is why the festivals are so important. So this is, who's this? The Guild of Drama Adjudicators. Adjudicator Sonia Woolley. Thanks, Sonia. This is a really good suggestion. The image of Dan walking off into the darkness on page 43 was so moving and seemed to sum up the whole play, it could have made a telling end. How obviously you feel the rest of sections 5 and 6 have things to add and make minders. So perhaps shortened versions of these could be incorporated earlier, and page 42 could provide that final moment. I chatted to Sonia about that afterwards, went home, and wow, that gave us a really fantastic ending. It's really good to have these endings, and when we did the next version of the play, which became Missing Dan Nolan, that was the ending that appeared, and it made all the difference to have a really strong ending, which back in the other reviews people had suggested was wrong from the beginning. It was an immensely moving piece of work of a very high standard in all areas of production, and our marks went up from the 70s to 83 in that production. And I think the changes then that we made it gave us an impetus, and the success gave us an impetus. And then real tragedy hits. Just before we're due to go to Woking, the big drama festival, new twist in Hunt for Dan. A foot's discovered on a beach in Swanage. Now, how the hell did a foot get to Swanage? And then very soon after that, Dan Nolan is confirmed dead. I mean, so a whole massive change happens there for us. Poor Pauline and her family. And we have to now incorporate a new bit into the play, which reports on a foot found in Swanage. How does a foot get from Hamble to Swanage when they've searched under the Solent? Pauline and I met Claire very recently again. They're absolutely convinced this isn't just the story of someone who fell in at the pontoon in Hamble. Awful to have to incorporate that. That happened the week before we were at Woking Drama Festival. And then the big one. We go to Woking to do our final performances. Actually, we were invited back after to do another one nearby Hamble, but this was what we intended to be the climax. Missing Dan, and the review from Paul Fowler, it's printed in complete in the DVD, the Zinc book, 10 Alps at DVD and Zinc. It's complete, it's written in full. I've done highlights here, but there's quite a lot, and it's just a lovely review. Thank you, Paul. We really appreciated this. Missing Dan Nolan is a heart-rending examination of the public and private grief of a bewildered family and community coming to terms with the unexplained disappearance of a much-loved friend, brother and son, while acknowledging the wider issues raised by Dan's disappearance. We couldn't have wanted any better description of what we were trying to do. I know of no other playwright in Britain working in this way, addressing important issues in a manner that is so immediately relevant and accessible to both cast members and audience. I say again, until London Road happened at the National Theatre, no one really noticed verbatim theatre and documentary theatre. It didn't even have this name, it was called docudrama. It was unusual. It was unique in drama festivals at amateur drama. Missing Dan Nolan, which we changed the title as well. Dan Nolan Missing became Missing Dan Nolan. And people were missing him. They knew he died. It wasn't just a boy gone missing, it was people missing him. That's where the title change happened. Missing Dan Nolan went through many changes that reflected the current state of knowledge in the case, with Mark constantly rewriting the script, even up to the week before this performance, when confirmation of the teenager's death was revealed, freeing the family from the burden of uncertainty, but raising further questions which Mark has again incorporated. And again, Pauline and Greg were fantastic in being willing to talk to me more and explain their thoughts about the severed foot. The opening minutes of the play served notice that here was a team that was at one with the material and had created a production style that admirably suited the piece. This was disciplined, committed and highly focused work from all concerned, and if you needed any further proof, the various freezes during the play were excellent. I liked and admired much about this inventive, imaginative production. This is a director with great vision and marvellous control of pace and mood. The swift transformation from schoolboy to the poignant scene which Sarah says the goodbye in her mind that she was denied in reality was a great example. I loved the way in which you developed a sort of choral punctuation with 2 or more actors emphasising a word or phrase, and the way in which this was echoed by a very different sort of punctuation from the 2 on-stage drummers. And notice, he's not talking about speech, he's not talking about elocution. We worked relentlessly to make sure everybody pronounced their T's, their consonants, so that we wouldn't have that comment, and we're so pleased we didn't get it. I just adored the fabulous physicality of this production, the brothers fighting, the neighbours gossiping, and the girls preening, for example. Lovely stuff. The way in which you handled the transition scene as the boys set up the pontoon scene to One Fine Day was just outstanding, then expertly switched the mood again for the lengthy reenactment of Dan's last known movements, staged in a highly effective manner. I thought the final moments, thank you Sonia, it worked. Thank you. The final moments of the play were poignant and very moving as Dan sort of faded out of the scene into the uncertain distance. So what Sonia had wanted us to do, we managed to do. And that's great that we managed to put her vision into practice. The acting, immaculate teamwork of this company, a group of actors constantly working with and for each other in exemplary fashion. This is an ensemble piece, and without the sort of company approach you adopted, would not have been anywhere near as successful. Very well done. This is the sort of teamwork that one always hopes for in a youth theatre groups, but alas, rarely sees. The individual performances were first class. The direction showed the same flair, imagination and rigorous discipline as the writing. Very well done, Oakland's Youth Theatre. Deserved winners of the Youth Award. Wow, we'd done it. And we came back and took some photos in our lovely Oakland's Theatre. There we all are. My Ollie, who did the sound, Charlie, who did the drums along with Argent, and the 4 actors, and Danny, who had done the amazing lights. That's the team of actors and me. We were just overwhelmed by happiness that we'd managed to do this. And behind me, up here, can you just see it? Here is the little award that stands on my table, on my shelf, which the cast gave me, and it says to the world's best director, thanks for Dan, always love you, your stars. And they certainly were my stars. And there's Alex, who won Best Actor Award at Totton early on in the season, and Alex being a little bit rude with his award, but it also tells us about the atmosphere. And there's our little collection of fantastic awards, of which we were so proud. You can see that original production. Sadly, it isn't the final one, it's the original one back in that we did on the first day at Oakland's, but it's now on DVD together with the second production, which is an ensemble production, which I'll talk a little bit about when that came to be filmed as well. Oh, sorry, that's been a long one, but it was important to give us, that's the culmination of all the work we did over, I think it was nearly 2 years. And we now said goodbye to Dan and gave it away to the rest of the world through the script that was there. And thanks all of you who are using it.